has reaffirmed its commitment to collaborate with state governments to ensure the delivery of quality education to every Nigerian child. The call was made by the Minister of Education, Dr. Maruf Tunji Alausa, who reiterated his commitment to working with sub-national governments to ensure that education policies are not only well-designed but effectively implemented across Nigeria. In a late Sunday statement signed by Boriowo Folashade, the Director of Press and Public Relations, Minister of Education, Dr. Alausa stated this while commending the Committee of States Commissioners of Education in Nigeria during the Maiden Pair Learning webinar. According to the statement, Dr. Alausa described the webinar as a timely and strategic platform to strengthen collaboration between the federal government and the states in tackling the challenge of out-of-school children. All public and private primary and secondary schools, as well as government technical colleges in Ogun State, will proceed on mid-term holiday for the second term of the 2025-2026 academic session from Thursday, 19th February to Friday, 28th February 2026. In a statement signed by the Commissioner for Education, Science and Technology, Professor Abayomi Arigbabo, Open Day will be observed by both public and private primary and secondary schools on Wednesday, 18th February 2026. Academic activities are expected to resume on Monday, 23rd February 2026. Parents and guardians are advised to take adequate care of their wards during the holiday period. The Ministry appreciates the continued cooperation of stakeholders in the education sector. In Nigeria, public and private interventions, which are initiatives aimed at reducing educational costs or offering alternative high-quality schooling to address gaps in the public education system, have been described as the way to go for improved education. Stakeholders who spoke with OGTV crew called for more well-meaning individuals and organizations for strategic partnership with government at all levels.
Intervention strategies are essential for supporting student learning, promoting positive behavior, and enhancing social-emotional development. Educational interventions are structured, targeted actions, often academic, behavioral, or emotional, designed to help students overcome learning gaps, often through specialized small group or one-on-one sessions. Private interventions such as personalized tutoring or counseling complement traditional education, aiming for measurable, tailored improvements in students' performance.
It's easy for us to criticize government. Government is who is government? All of us. And we all have a role to play. And even if you look at government the way you look at it, there is nowhere in the world where government bears the cost of education alone. People contribute to it to make it whatever it becomes. So we all have a responsibility.
Well, it shows that we have a hope. If we have several people who could come in with this kind of intervention, bearing in mind that the government will not be able to do everything. Having people with good intentions, people who are philanthropists, supporting and partnering with the government, then it means we have a very great future ahead of us as a nation, Nigeria.
To stakeholders, implementing structured, evidence-based approaches, schools can create an inclusive and supportive environment that fosters students' success.
Because everybody that is successful today actually had gone through schools and educational sector, as it were. So it's just like the culture of giving back. That is one of the things that is growing the American educational sector, where you have endowments, research grants being sponsored by individuals and all that. I think it's a culture that should also get further ingrained in our, in our educational system.
What they are doing in the educational sector is so desirable. Absolute pressure or no absolute pressure. It is the responsibility of government to do all this. When the funds are there they push it into all these institutions to improve them in no ramification, to grant even loan to students who are indigent, so to fund research and what have you, to build infrastructures. So those are the things that are real responsibility of government in a proper direction.
They believe the main goal is to solve a problem, to improve things at its core. Intervention means taking action to change something.
Education sector in Nigeria still needs a lot of help. I'm not going to kid myself that this is, it still needs a lot of help. But like I said and repeated it, the intention must be there. There must be the political will. There must be the corporate will. There must even be the parental will. We need to train our teachers. We need to motivate our teachers. We need them to be proud of the fact that they can go out there and teach.
Stakeholders are of the opinion that to work towards meeting benchmarks in academic, testing is a comprehensive intervention strategy. Using educational interventions can help improve student productivity in schools, and it is important that the intervention program proves effective and it is backed by research. Elizabeth Son, OGTV News.
In response to growing public concern, the leadership of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is reportedly considering a legislative intervention to adjust the 2027 poll dates, which currently overlap with the holy month of Ramadan. INEC had on Friday announced that the presidential and National Assembly elections are scheduled for February 20, while the governorship and state assembly polls are fixed for March 6. The recently announced 2027 election dates were met with widespread consent, as Muslim faithful highlighted that the holy month is a time for heightened spiritual devotion and limited worldly engagement, raising fears that the overlap could disenfranchise millions of voters and impact the overall credibility of the polls. Following the concerns raised by former Vice President Atiku Abubakar and former Vice Presidential aide Bashir Ahmed, the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC has already issued a formal response. In the same phase, the House of Representatives summoned members for an emergency session on Tuesday to deliberate on the election timetable. Ahead of the August 8th governorship election in Osun State, the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC has cleared 14 parties for the exercise. However, the People's Democratic Party, PDP, and Labour Party, LP, were not cleared for the election. This was disclosed in a statement in Osogbo by INEC's spokesman in Osogbo, Osun State, Musa Olurode. He said the 14 parties successfully completed their primaries and uploaded the names and particulars of their candidates, including running mates, within the stipulated deadline. The Presidential Fiscal Policy Reforms Committee has dismissed as false a viral video claiming that new tax laws will take effect in 2027 and impose a 25% tax on funds meant for building materials and other transactions. In a statement, the committee clarified that the Nigerian Tax Act 2025 had already commenced and contains no provision imposing a 25% tax on construction funds, bank balances, or business expenses. According to the committee, the Act instead introduces measures aimed at reducing housing costs, encouraging real estate development, and supporting small businesses and low-income renters. Key provisions, according to the statement, include a value-added exemption of land, buildings, and rents, as well as impute VAT credits for contractors to reduce construction costs. The Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, NIDCOM, Abike Dabirerewa, has condemned the latest killing of a 22-year-old Nigerian e-hailing driver, Isaac Saplet, in Pretoria, South Africa. Dabirerewa, in a statement by NIDCOM's spokesman, Abdurrahman Balogun, demanded justice and arrests as well as prosecution of those involved. She says the increasing rates of criminality and killings of Nigerians in South Africa was worrisome and cause for serious concern, noting that Nigeria and South Africa have come a long way as African brothers. The newcomers wondered why some people were committing heinous crimes against fellow Africans. On the foreign scene, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the U.S. must require Iran to relinquish all its enriched uranium and be barred from enriching more as part of any nuclear deal with Tehran. In a speech in Jerusalem, he outlined several conditions he wanted, including that all enriched material has to leave Iran and that there should be no enrichment capability. His comments come as Iranian and U.S. officials prepare for a second round of talks in Switzerland on Tuesday. Iran will consider compromises to reach a nuclear deal if the U.S. is willing to discuss lifting sanctions. Iranian Deputy Foreign Minister Majid Ravinci said. And from the world of sport, Mikel Arteta fears Arsenal's growing injury list could damage their bid to win the quadruple. Arteta's side booked their place in the FA Cup 5th round with a 4-0 win against Wigan at the Emirates Stadium on Sunday, but the Gunners' ruthless dismissal of the League One strugglers was marked by injuries to Riccardo Calafiori and Ben White. Italy defender Calafiori suffered a problem in the pre-match warm-up and was unable to play, while right-back White was forced off in the second half. Arsenal captain Martin Odegaard did not feature in the fourth round after sustaining a knock in Arsenal's 1-1 draw against Brentford on Thursday. The midday news is a wrap, but before I go, let me tell you that being yourself, you put something wonderful in the world that was not there before. Thank you for watching the Midday News. Join me again at 2 for more news. Bye for now.